Okay, so we're live. No, and we're live. I like to say it twice. It's like a. So we're live. I said it 3 times. There you go. I am Daniel Norton. Welcome to OnSet. This is Dave. Set's over here doing the. So I'm going in a weird order today for some bizarre reason. Probably because I'm now paranoid that people are going to say something like coffee sitting on the computer. But listen, I don't have a coffee mug anymore. No place to put it, so we're going to have to live with that. Coffee holder, yeah. It's not on the computer now, I have it next to. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. Well, or maybe it's the same really when it comes down to it, but a lot of times I'll be doing a demonstration on whatever the process might be, portrait photography, lighting, you know, how to make a cake, whatever I'm doing, and I'll make a statement something like, well, when I light women I like to, when I light men I like to, and I get a lot of questions about that. So I decided to make this session kind of about different types of lighting that I like to use when I photograph men or women, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about the philosophy as to why I do that. Right away, somebody's going to tell me, well, you know what, I like to shoot women. That's fine. You like to do this with women or men or whatever, that's on you. Be happy. We're actually going to, each lighting scenario we set up, I will set it up with a man or a woman the way I would like them. Then I'll drop the other one in. We have 2 models so we can show the difference. We can play around a little bit. And obviously your individual subject is going to affect this a lot. So I just want to put that all up front because I know that that's the thing. I never like to say, and I'm making the word never, which I don't usually do. I usually don't like to say something is a certain way. Like you have to do it this way, you don't do it that way. I find that's bad. I get when you're learning, people want to know how exactly did you do that, but the thing is, everybody's different, right? So we're going to talk in generality, I can't talk today, generally about this today. So why would you photograph men and women differently, right? So why am I even bringing this up? Besides the fact that I have to do something here every Thursday. By the way, I'm here every Thursday, if you guys don't know, and we live stream on YouTube. Welcome for watching. Yes, my t-shirt. Dave recommended that I get this t-shirt, by the way, because we were going through the Cotton Bureau t-shirts, and Dave was like, you need to get that t-shirt, so I will say, normally I just go for the black t-shirts, but I got a little bright color today. But yeah, cat talking, I mean, what do you got to do? So, why would we photograph men and women differently, right? So it comes down to kind of contemporary kind of beauty standards is what I'll use as a term. Like, what do people generally find to be appealing, let's say, in a male versus a female subject, right? This is what we're doing, right? We're creating photos generally that people look good in, that people want to look at the person. And there are differences generally, right? Men, usually, you want to see like shadow and definition and texture, you know, so if a man has wrinkles or a scruff, you know, of beard on his face or that kind of stuff, like scars, like that all can be attractive. It's part of the masculinity of it, right? And a lot of times, showcase that, right? So you may specifically shoot men to accentuate that. Whereas women, generally, you're not going to do that. Right, the general standard of beauty for women is soft and clean and not a lot of detail and really smooth, right, and young, and this is like the thing, right? So, you know, you don't generally want to accentuate that. If you see that a woman has some smile lines or something, you probably want to try to get rid of those, right? That's what everybody wants when they get their photo made. Whereas the guys don't generally care because that's lucky for us. That's considered positive. So what we'll do is we'll actually like to accentuate those things or take them away, depending on our subject matter. Now, let's say I'm shooting an athlete that's a female. I might want to make it hard and gritty or whatever, right? Because that's an example. That is a very specific thing. Or you might want to shoot a man in a more soft way for whatever reason you might want to do that. There's probably a reason. I can't think of it, but there's probably a reason that you want to do that, and it definitely is done. So again, that's kind of what I'm talking about here. So we're going to walk through, and I think I guess I'll start with Velson because he's right there. And we'll start with photographing Velson. We'll make a headshot or portrait of him. Now I'll talk about generally how I would like for a man. Then we'll bring Ingeborg in. So I have Velson. If I didn't say that, you can find him at velson.com. And we have Ingeborg over here, also at velson.com for some reason. I don't know why. So they're our models. So we've got a man and a woman, as promised, right? So let's start with Velson. So generally speaking, I want to create, talking what I was talking about, I want to create texture, I want to create shape in a man's face. Generally, I want to create a lot of strength. Strength would be triangular or angular thing, so emphasize the jawline as more of a squared off thing versus a rounded thing. That's how I'm going to want to focus on photographing a man. So we have Elson here. I guess maybe we'll use a little bit of softbox. So it's OCF.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So let's talk a little bit about like light quality before we get too far into this, because this will actually factor into this, right? So you hear these words probably put out there a lot, but I will say them one more time like I always do. You've got hard light and you've got soft light, right? People hear that term all the time. So hard light generally has, or not generally, hard light has immediate or hard edges. The light drops off really quickly, right? The difference between the neutral, which is your normal exposure, and your shadow, there's not a lot of gradation. It just literally goes from neutral to shadow, right? So if you're photographing something with texture, let's say a wrinkle, right, or something like that, it's going to become more obvious, or because the texture is going to create a lot of little tiny hard shadows. So hard light is going to produce that. Now, what makes a light in soft light, it spreads out. It goes over more space. So you might actually not even see it go all the ways to black during the single space. So if you have somebody who, let's say, has a lot of texture in their skin and you want to minimize that, a soft light will minimize it because you won't see those shadows as much. There'll be a lot less of a sudden drop off, whereas somebody with hard light, we will see it, and we'll demonstrate that. Interestingly enough, I'm going to use a soft box to create the hard light because I just like to be crazy like that. This is a soft box. Soft box is basically a box that has diffusion on the front, thus making the light source larger, because in order to create a soft light, we need to make it bigger, right? So I could just use the basic reflector that comes with the head. That'll be really extreme. I don't think I want to go that far. But I'm going to use a small softbox, right? This softbox is like a foot, I think it's 15 inches to be exact, 15 inches square. So it's not tremendously large. So it should still give us some decent hard edge without being too hard. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I know I also want to photograph Ingeborg with that light too. So I want to make sure that it's not going to be over the top hard. So I think this will work for us. Dave's using this is on a ProPhoto B1, by the way. And Dave's using just a light meter to set up our exposure. Now, okay, that'll happen a bunch of times, I'm sure. Now, the important thing too to remember here, we kind of skipped over a little bit. And all the people who come every week are like, Daniel, why didn't you do that yet? Because I do it every week. One thing you want to think about when you're using flash, especially, one of the reasons to use flash, is the idea that you can control your space, right? So rolling back a little bit, we want to produce an image using the softbox, and I want to show you what it's going to do. So the first thing I want to do is eliminate all the light in my space, right? I want the only light that you see in the photograph to be from this softbox. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to set my camera up so that if I were to make a photo without the flash, I'm going to get a black frame. A black frame being no exposure, right? So I'm going to set my ISO as low as it goes within the normal range, which is 100 on this camera. I'm going to set my shutter speed at 250 or 200, which is the highest it goes and syncs with this camera. Now, there is such a thing as high-speed sync that we're just not going to talk about today. Don't worry about that. So 200 is our max. The is your aperture, and for that, it's going to matter where you are. In here, we found that around 5.6 or f8-ish will get us a dark frame. I'm here all the time, so I know that. If you don't know, you can use a meter, either a meter in your camera or a handheld light meter, or just take some pictures to get a shot. Like before you put the flash in there, take some pictures, get yourself in the position so that when you make that first photo with your model in there, this is what you get. I'm in capture one here, by the way. You can see that my photo is a black frame. If I were to grab my exposure slider over here and pull it over, I like to do this. You start to see him come to be about right there, just shy of 2 stops underexposed. So that's pretty good. I don't like to be just barely underexposed. I like a couple of stops. The reason for that is because in post, I might want to bring the shadows up a bit, right? So if I'm right at the edge of exposure, if it was like only a quarter of a stop underexposed or something, then I wouldn't have a lot of room to move. So this gives us plenty of space. So then Dave's going to set the flash at, I guess, 5.6, because that's what the camera's set at right now. And he's going to make an exposure with the flash. Questions about that so far? That made sense? Black frame, we're basically there. So this is a relatively small light. It's going to create some pretty abrupt shadows. We'll actually play around a little bit. We'll use this, and then we'll also use maybe nothing, just the bare reflector. So there we go, not bad. So we've got he's thinking. He just woke up. He's thinking. We can see that you can take it over so that I'm not looking at his stoned. He's not stoned yet. Yet, or still, depending on what time of day it is for you. There we go. Now he's just snappy. Okay, so he's like, ah. So we've got the light's hitting his face again. It's a relatively hard light. One thing I have going on here. If I can switch to the right tool. The lens is a 24-70 Canon something 2.8 zoom thingy. Canon's not here anymore, so I don't have to say exactly what it is. It's a 24-70. Yeah, we use this a lot in the demos in here, and not because I'm recommending that you use a 24-70 when you make portraits, but rather because it gives us enough versatility to show the lighting and stuff. If you are curious about like a lens for portraiture, I'd probably would be more likely to use like an 85. But you know, this is fine for the demo. So anyways, we've got this light. It's relatively hard. We can look at the shadow edge here. And we can see that, you know, it's not like a super abrupt like on-camera flash, like hard line, but we can see that it's very little between our shadow edge and our neutral, which is over here, right? Relatively hard light, and we can see because of it, it's, you know, again, a lot of texture in his skin, which is totally fine. I mean, again, for, oops, okay, there we go. Jumping around for some reason. He's messing with me a bit. Oh, there we go. That's even better. So that's a good point that Dave just made there too. So again, this kind of hard, punchy light, shadows across the face, is not typically something that, if you're looking for a beautiful shot of a woman, that you would want to necessarily have. It's usually you want to have a bigger, more open light for that. I will say Dave moved him a little bit, which changed it, which gets to the other factor, which is the hiding of the face in shadow, right? That becomes something that you use a lot with photographing men. Again, it's not usually, if I was making a portrait of Elsa, if he was like, make a portrait of me, and I shot this, he'd probably be pretty happy. He'd be like, how'd you do that? Because you're standing way over here. I'm like, well, Dave did it, right? So, but like but if a typical young lady comes and wants a portrait, this is not how I'm going to light her, right? She typically wants her whole face lit up. And you could use this light source. Posing is a good factor. This is what I'm getting to, because Dave kind of moved him a little bit, right? If we were to bring Ingeborg in, we're just going to swap you out. I'm changing up the format. By the way, I never tell people what I'm going to do so they get confused. So if we have her stand basically where Ellison was, and we just do the same shot more or less, we'll start there. Uh-oh. Is the water working now? No. Just walking away. We see, right? Again, this is not, you know, ideally the way that you would typically want to photograph a woman. It's typically not considered, you know, attractive to have all this shadow and any of the lines. I mean, you look great.
Thank you.
But we can fix that a bit with posing, though. Okay, so let's just quickly talk about that. We're going to bounce around a little bit here because I want to kind of do some comparisons here. So again, this is not how we would do it. I wouldn't shoot a woman like this typically, not if I liked her anyways. But we can think about what's bad about this. One of the main things is the direction of the shadows, right? Let's say we can't make the light bigger yet because we're not going to do that yet. We're not going to make it soft yet. But the main problem is the direction of shadows. I don't like so much shadow on her face, so I can turn her more towards the light. I can also move the light more into the center, right? So just those small changes can make the same light source work for her instead, right? So I don't know, which one should we do? Should we move her or move the light? Move the light. Oh, this must be a union guy. Right? So we're going to try to move the light to bring it a little bit more in central, because if we bring the light more central, we're going to get, the light is going to go past her, right, and create more even light across her whole face, theoretically. Right? And again, we can have her work more or less towards the light. The more her nose is pointing towards the light, the more the shadows will go straight back versus being on her face. Oh, Seth's passed me a note like in 5th grade. Okay.
Just letting you know in case something cuts out because of start over.
Oh, interesting. Like the internet? Oh, just Adorama's internet. Okay. There's a top secret thing going on, and now I feel like everybody wants to know what it says. They may cut off our internet a little bit early, so if you're watching online and we get cut off, I apologize. I got a little hot. I know, I just said it anyways, even though basically Seth tried to give it to me all discreet. I'm just like, here's what it says. Okay, so Dave's gonna remeter because we moved the light. It's a smidge hot. Smidge is a technical term. Okay, so this is a little bit better, but I will say this, right? What are we looking at here? I'm sorry to pick you apart. No, I'm going to pick her apart because this is what we do here. So, right? Because the shadow is here, you're not going to be able to get rid of it, well, unless you move the light all the way to the front. It's accentuating basically this part of her face, thus making that shadow is actually creating what makes it look like a very shallow chin line and kind of a plumper face that maybe most people would want. So we can fix that either by raising the light slightly, right, which will make that shadow be shorter, or even having her project her chin up and towards it a little bit, right? So that'll help. So what if you just try to project your chin towards the light a little bit more so that you don't get, fat chin. That's the official term for that. Right, and why do we care, right? You don't care about your chin, right? But Ingeborg does. Right, but we can see by bringing her face up slightly, right, we're able to accentuate that jawline a bit more. You see how that changed that? Or did it not change it on? I'm just making it up. It did change it, right? So now, we're bringing her up, right? So if you don't want her to have to be looking off to the side with her chin like that, then obviously you've got to move your light so it's doing that, right? So if I want exactly that, but her looking towards my camera, I got to bring my light more in the center, right? That's all I got to do. Think about where the light falls. You can move your light or you can move your subject. Either one will affect the pose. Does that make sense? Good. All right. I feel like I'm not going too much in circles yet. Don't worry, it'll get confusing. Okay, let's bring Velson back in since this is his light. This is the Velson light. Yeah. Okay, so let's say we light it more for her, right? So now how does this look on Velson? Let's see if this is bad. I don't think it will be, but we'll see. Yeah. Do the Ingeborg. Anybody see Spider-Man yet? Okay, I won't say anything then. Are you just not interested in it?
Is he good?
I saw it. I do want to have like an open discussion here if people haven't seen it. Have you seen it, Seth? Yes, okay. I'm not like that. Like those people who came in and started talking about Game of Thrones like first thing Monday morning. Like, what's up with that? Not terrible. Kind of still good, right? He's a little hot now for some reason, but I think it's because you're taller.
Yeah, he's like close.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah. You look a little bit like the dude, because I started to watch it again. Have you seen Westworld? Okay, then I'm not gonna say anything.
Oh, James Martin?
Maybe.
Which one?
Do you take that as a compliment? Then yes.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yes. The dude that is like the main guy, basically.
Yeah.
Not
The main young guy.
the main young guy that's in the thing. Yeah. A little bit. Just in this. Did we use you for that scene? Is that why I think that? No, we used somebody else. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting a little sidetracked there. Have you seen Westworld? People haven't seen. You don't watch TV because you're in New York. Everybody online's probably like, yeah, in New York people don't watch TV. They got no TVs here. We got no time for that. Okay, so this is a bit of a hard light. We've got it on his face. This is not terrible. Let's actually play around a little bit with hair lights. Like let's give him like a separation / hair light. Let's start with the dude. Let's just go full on hard. Not the dude from that Big Lebowski, but the dude as in. Let's just use the hard reflector light on him. Like just the D2 by itself.
Barehead?
Yeah.
Opposite?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Barehead, you want the magnet?
Not barehead. So we're just going to go barehead, right? Because what's going to happen here is, oh, this is kind of a nice shirt. Yeah, I have my mic back, by the way, for people who have been around in the past and I lost my mic. I got my little button mic. Of course, in this shirt, you can really see it because I don't, but if you're wearing a black shirt, it's like a little tiny mic right here. No cables. Yeah, there's some random chair there for some reason. I'm not really sure where that came from. I think I brought it out earlier because I was sitting in it. What was I saying? You don't even know. You lost track. So we're going to do a hard light. What's going to happen here, though, is we've got this hard light. And because Velson has, nice hair, I'm jealous, but he has nice short hair. Basically, some of this light is going to come around, possibly, and hit him in the front of the face, right? It's going to be a hard light. Hard light, if that hits him in the face, is going to cause shadows coming forward and more texture. Again, probably much more acceptable on him than it will be on Ingeborg, who luckily has some hair to hide it. So we'd probably be able to use the similar setup. But if she also had short hair, let's say it pulled back, we would have to handle this light in a different way. So let's start and see what we get. That's right, okay. All right, so, yeah. So we're rocking it now. We got the ProPhoto D2 in the back. I almost looked right at it. That would have been a problem. That's what you do to new photo assistants. Can you check that flash tube? All right, so now we're adding this light from the back, right? And again, it's hitting him in the face, and look at that texture. Oh, it's so lovely. But again, if I knew how to work this computer, it's acceptable, right? It works actually for him. And it adds a little bit of grittiness, and it's totally okay. It's maybe a smidge hot, but I think it's okay. So let's bring it in. Let's swap out to Ingeborg. I like this, like moving the models back and forth. It's fun, right? I have to do two models more often. Does this make sense so far? Or it's completely like off the wall, like doesn't, okay, good. Just making sure. Okay, so again, in her case, her hair, oh, interesting. That's weird. Why do you have like one weird stripe of hair? Always blame the model. That's an important part of this. Let's just try that again. That's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. It's just the way the light's hitting it. Yeah, it's like the curl is catching it in the way that's totally your fault. Hair and makeup. Okay, so we have this hair light, and again, just as I suspected, because of her hair, it's not going to hit her in the face. But let's just hit her in the face with it because we want to see the, yeah, exactly. So go ahead, yeah, like maybe even use your hand and like pull it over just for this shot. Let's get her in the face with the hair, and we'll see the difference. That is probably not going to look as good. Yeah, like make it look bad. There we go. Are you going to fill that entire suitcase full of camera equipment and then go home? You're like, I'm going to buy a lot of stuff today, so I'm going to get.
I think we were just about to.
Yeah, on the road.
You were here about 3 days.
Okay, so again, we have the texture, and she's got decent skin, so it's not really an issue. But again, typically, if I show a woman like their skin looking like that, they're probably not going to want that, right? It's something they don't generally like. So I can handle it a few different ways, right? Number one, she's like, why are you showing it to me then? Number one, I could just let her hair block it, which works for us, right? It's already there, right? Anything that's already there is always good for us. But let's say I like this pose. I like that she's doing this kind of I'm fixing my hair pose, right? And I'm hitting her there. What I would need to do is get this light bigger, right? Bigger light source is going to be a softer light source. Softer light source is going to eliminate some of that that issue. So we could make it bigger by putting, I don't know, softbox on it. We have a softbox. We have a big softbox. We have a 2 foot by 3 foot or a small, shallow chimera. Say that 3 times fast.
Is it a Super Plus?
It is Super Pro Plus shallow. It is in fact silver. It is in fact only has the outer diffusion on it as well. So shallow soft boxes are what all the cool kids use. So if you want to be cool. You didn't even know there were shallow soft boxes, did you? It's pretty cool though, so now you know. And knowing is half the battle. Exactly. So there's a couple of reasons why you might want to use a shallow softbox. None of these reasons have anything to do with what we're doing today, but I will just point it out because you're probably wondering why I have a shallow softbox. One is that it's shallow, so it takes up less space, right? That's like the obvious reason. Let's say I'm shooting in an office or enclosed space. This box is a little bit less deep, so I can put it in smaller spaces, right? If you use both levels of diffusion on it, it will look pretty even, just like a regular softbox, even though it's shallow, depending on the head you put into it. We only have the outer diffusion though, and sometimes I like to use it with just the outer diffusion, and I put it in really close to somebody because it actually gets a little bit uneven. And that it kind of creates a bit of a hot spot in the center, which can be kind of nice if you're trying to make a portrait. It'll give you almost like a little bit of a natural vignette, so that's why I like to use them. But it's subtle, but hey, subtlety is that's the extra 0 on your check. Right there is all the subtlety. Yeah. Perfect. Oh, she's moving forward. She likes the shallow softbox. No, she just wants water. See? Damn it. All right. It's like putting candy out here. They bring people forward. They switch the candy, huh? When do they do that? Who eats the candy when they come every time? You eat the candy. When did they do that? It's been this morning. Yeah. When do they do it? Yeah, it's like a different style candy. So if you don't know what I'm talking about online, you have to come into it. Yeah, it's interesting. All right, so now we've got a bit of a softer light back here, and we can see that her skin looks smoother, right? I mean, you're still going to have some texture because you got a light coming from the back, but we can see if we compare it to, I guess, this one. See the difference there? See that, right? Everybody sees that difference? Uh-oh. You're raising your hand. Do you have a question, or you're being like, yeah, I see it?
What setting are you using for that second light?
So this is a Profoto D2, and the softbox is the Shimira Small Shallow Super Pro Plus. They say all that.
And the setting is?
No, the opposite. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The setting is, you have a 5.6 on the main light. What is the setting for the second light?
Oh, what is the setting?
I kept them both equal.
So it's basically on exposure. Yeah.
Equal on exposure.
They're the same exposure, yeah. The actual power setting might be different because it's two different types of lights and two different things, but the actual exposure is the same. That's a good question. Thank you. So there's a question online about whether it wraps around more, because wraparound has to do with how close you are or something usually and how big it is, not so much the shallow or not. The shallow is going to, it can create a bit of a hot spot if you're in close, which can be nice. Maybe we'll do that at some point. We'll play around with that, but not today. There's actually, I haven't used them because they're super, super rare. Because there's like one dude in like Colorado making them in his basement. But Plume softboxes have various fronts to them available that have different levels of diffusion that come in, like they're less diffuse in the center or more diffuse in the center for exactly that reason. You know, everybody gets a softbox because they want to make even light, but then everybody makes even light, right? So as you go through your kind of your lighting career, or as you're building up, you start to use little bits of odd pieces of equipment that have little changes, and that helps to shape how you use light. So shallow softboxes is just one of it. If you haven't used one, give it a shot. It's pretty cool. There's actually an amazingly shallow octagon that's made by Dado Light. It's like this skinny. Oh my God, so good. But anyways, we are not shooting TTL today. We're shooting in manual. It's manual month. July is manual month. If you've noticed, every one of these we've been using in manual because Seth challenged us. He was like, "Yo, I was using TTL," and I was like, "All right, we'll use manual, whatever. It's no more work for me. Dave does everything. I just stand here, so it doesn't bother me at all." But we do get the question though. Yep.
They're asking if there's a way to soften the light even further so you don't see individual hairs.
Yeah, the closer the light is, the more soft it will be. You're always going to see the hair because the hair is shiny. I mean, people's hair has oil in it, so it's going to pick up light. So yeah, you can't really make it not see individual hairs. That comes down to angle. You're going to put a light behind something, it's throwing light forward. It's just not going to completely go away. You'd have to use a completely flat light, which we can play around with a little bit as we switch it up. But any backwards light is going to, you're lighting it from the back, thus backlight. We can move it closer just to see what it does. Yeah, I will not touch it. Am I allowed to touch the backlight? That's in Dave's contract. Dave, the backlight Brewsker. Trademark. Backlight, hair light, separation light, rim light. I'm going to use every single term for it. It's a light from the back. What did you call it? Perimeter light. Interesting. Never heard that. I may start using that just to confuse people even more. Any other questions while Dave's moving the light closer? Cool.
I think my favorite, the shallow depth on the ME filter.
Nice. You do that. Okay, so Dave's remetering it. So obviously, we move the light closer. We have to adjust our power. I mean, it's as simple as that. We're trying to balance it out. He's also moving it a little bit more from the side to make it a little bit less prominent. Because again, if you light something from the back, you're going to see it. It's going to become three-dimensional. So no matter how soft the light is, you're going to see those hairs. I always like to adjust this because this is like the little focus thingy. There we go. You guys see an eyeball in there. That's the cool thing. All right, how are we doing? How's Velson doing over there? You doing all right? He's very focused with his black shirt and his Nikes. It's very Rod Stewart, right? Wasn't that Rod Stewart, like dress up and then wear the, yeah. Except I think it was Converse. Okay, now it's closer. It's also slightly changing the angle, but let's just see what that does with the hairs, see how much it helped. Yeah, okay, so now, closer, moving it more to the side, actually pretty much gets rid of most of them. I mean, they're still there, but that definitely helped. Part of it is closer because it's wrapping around more, right? We're not seeing the individual lines because the closer you are, something the more it wraps around. But also Dave went a little more to the side, so he's not throwing the light directly from the back, he's throwing it from the side, and that kind of got rid of that. Now, the only problem I have with this currently is now that shadow under her chin is weird. So I would want to adjust if we were trying to make that better so it wouldn't be so scoopy. But yeah, that definitely did it. Yes, still no cup holder. And if I mention the cup holder, then Seth gets mad, so I'm not going to do it.
Go ahead. I said I'd buy you a new one.
Yeah. You realize I fixed the cup holder. I glued it together. It was like working perfectly again. And then Seth like suplexed it or something and it broke off. So,
I have a question.
yes.
So for women, we like to elongate their necks and their body parts, right? So in that shot, even though the neck was shadowed, her neck was elongated a little bit. Isn't that part of our goal on some level?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the question is, are we trying to elongate the neck? Is that part of the beauty standard, let's say, for women, if we're using the thing? Yeah, that's 100% something that we try to do, right? The elongation of the neck. I think we could do it better, is all I'm saying. But we were just messing with the backlight right there. The problem that I have with this is if you look at where the shadow's falling, it's basically falling all over here as well, but it's filled in with that light. So you see this odd kind of shape. I think I'd want to move the shadow so it was completely under her chin, and we would do that by placing the light more or less directly above her. You know, we'd have to just recenter the light, just to be perfect if I was trying to be, you know, if I wanted to be perfect. Should we be perfect? Do you want to be perfect? All right, let's do it. So we want to try to line it up better, like maybe move it back a little bit. Maybe move it, I think move it this way slightly,
Oh, I see.
as to not have the shadow coming like that, but facing this way, yeah. And then look off towards the light. Look towards the light. So we want to create so that we're not getting as much shadow under her chin. But that's probably going to help with the neck. And then of course, now we'll have to move the hair light again, but we'll see. Let's just try it. What we're trying to do is create this narrow, I mean, the easier way to do it would be to bring the light around the front. That's a good question, right? The elongation of the neck is something that we generally want to show. At least not have it be compressed. I mean, you definitely can take it too far. Anything can be taken too far. I just want to put that out there right now. Yeah. No, see the shadow, but now we'd have to move the hair light back around to get it right. But you see now without the shadow being cut, the neck looks a little bit. We could use a reflector as well, but remember, a reflector is only going to fill in the shadow. It's not going to eliminate it generally.
I would almost use it.
Yeah, we need to move the light from the front. If we really want to do that, let's just do it.
An umbrella.
Yeah, let's swap to an umbrella. Maybe the shoot-through umbrella. The shoot-through umbrella is going to give us a different shadow pattern. It's going to be a little more wraparound. Probably a more appropriate. That was a perfect segue, by the way. I pay this guy $5 every week to come in and ask me that question so I could like switch it up.
They're asking if this would be different with continuous lighting or not.
So there's a question online about whether or not this would be different with continuous lighting. Well, Yes and no. The concepts of light are the same. If you had a softbox for continuous light, it would work the same. However, one of the things we did at the beginning is we eliminated all the light in the space, right? By setting our camera as such that none of the light in the space affects our shot. That's much more difficult to do with constant light sources. So if I'm using constant lights, I'm gonna have to be in a darker space if I want to get a similar effect. But you certainly can do it. The concepts are the same. I mean, if we were lighting a movie, Ingeborg's actually a movie star. See?
You just said yay, umbrella.
Yeah, I do love umbrellas. This is a small, deep, translucent umbrella. I think that's what they call it. I think it's 33 inches, if I'm not mistaken. So this is now going to throw the light on a much bigger pattern. We're going to get more light on the background. We're going to get a little bit more just the natural shadow fill. So again, bigger light source is going to theoretically create a different shadow pattern, a shadow pattern that's a little bit more diffuse. It's going to, our shadows are going to diffuse out a bit more. Because of that, it'll become a soft light, right? Soft light, the shadows spread out more. And the soft light is going to generally be more flattering on the female subject. I feel like you ever see that movie Tombstone? That's what it's called, right? Tombstone? With Doc Holliday. And he, yeah, that's what I'm feeling like right now because I got something in my chism. Hopefully I won't be like. Yeah, that was a pretty good. Did you ever see that movie? I recommend it. Yeah, it's a good cowboy movie if you like that. Yeah, where I represent the. It was probably the last good thing that Val Kilmer did. Maybe, I don't know. Like, what's he done since then?
Ellen was great.
What did he do?
He hasn't done anything.
Oh, but before that, he was Velen. What's Velen?
Ellen is one of the
Felon. Oh, I haven't seen it. So there we go. Val Kilmer had like a moment where he was like blowing up. He like was Batman and then like nothing.
he did the same too.
Although I say that having never seen that Batman movie, so I probably shouldn't put it down. I've only actually seen the one with Michael Keaton.
So they're asking because you're so tuned on skin tone, brightness of the monitor on your laptop. To judge it.
Yeah, one thing that you're gonna. Oh wow. There you go. That's brighter. So, okay, one thing you gotta. Oh, actually, I'm looking at the TV, which I shouldn't do, but we're a little bit bright. So what we want to do is bring our light ourselves in and make sure that our exposure doesn't clip. I think we're a smidge bright. Not a lot though. And the thing is you can actually push it, and this helps a little bit with texture too. Is if you do push it a little bit brighter, it sometimes can look a little bit nicer on skin tone. So it's not a bad idea to stay a little bit brighter. Just make sure you don't lose detail. You don't have to try to pull it back. There we go. Okay, so now we've got a little bit of a nicer shadow pattern from the umbrella. Now let's try to bring this light in and get that kind of nice backlight that we had before. So she pulls her hair back. Oh, before we do that, let's bring Velson back in. I have to give them equal time share, otherwise they get mad. It's in his contract. He's like, hold on, you've been giving her more time. Velson's got really strong lawyers. You were in some commercial or something where you spoke Spanish recently, because I saw that. I think you were speaking Spanish. I don't know. I don't speak Spanish, so you could be speaking any language, and I might just think that it's Spanish. Was it Spanish?
Portuguese.
Portuguese. Okay, there you go. See, I knew it. So he wasn't going to call me on it because it's too nice. There we go. So you see how by changing the light, it becomes a dude. Okay, so now we're getting into that really soft, kind of creamy, kind of light that's really appropriate for a female on a dude. And it doesn't look bad, But really, this is like in the barbershop, like when you're picking a hairstyle, like this is that shot, right? Like it's definitely not, like it doesn't have that like strength that the shots with all the shadows have, right? It's got this really kind of, which it can be fine depending on what you're trying to do. But generally speaking, it's very boyish, you know, which isn't, you know, Velson's a man. He's at least 22. Yeah. Yeah, somewhere in that direction. If you want to get a casting for like a young thing, this is the light for you. But you see the difference, right? Where that light kind of looked totally natural on her, doesn't it look a little bit odd to him? Or am I completely making that up? I'm making it up. Nobody hears. But we can rough it up a little bit, right? We could either add, let's say we want to use the umbrella because we like that soft light across his face. We could change back to the backlight to, what, our battery's dying?
About to.
Ah, yes, that's always good. Dying of the batteries. Okay, questions while we're switching batteries? We make sure to always use half-dead batteries when we start each one of these so we can take this moment in the middle of the break. Commercial break, we should have somebody come up and like, dude, do you want to do a commercial about your business? I'll sell you the time right now, cheap. Questions though? No questions? This is pretty cut and dry, yes.
We're also asking color background.
All right, so the gentleman in the back wants to go all Star Trek on us. No, he's asking about like soft focus filters. Yeah, you can do, I mean, typically for stills photography, most people are not applying any kind of soft filters to their lens now because it's pretty simple to do stuff in Photoshop. It's pretty simple to do it terribly in Photoshop as well, but it's pretty simple to do it in Photoshop, and then you're not like locked into this picture that's soft, maybe you're not gonna like it later. I like filters because I'm weird, so if you want to experiment, I like a soft tar. I think that's what you want. All the other ones can be a little bit funky, and we actually did a video about filters. So if you want to see Dave model the video about filters, that's like OnSet like number 5 or something. Go on to Adorama TV. But yeah, I like them. But I think if you're making portraits, I probably wouldn't necessarily put a soft focus filter on my lens unless I was really sure I wanted it, because you can't really take it away, you know. So yeah, that's the one reason to buy old lenses too. They're just not as sharp, you know. So the background, for people online are asking, because people, I'm sure nobody here asks because you can see it. The background is gray. It is a stone gray? Stone gray. Yeah, we're just not hitting it with any light right now, or barely any light, so it's changing color. If you want to learn how to make this gray background a million different colors, go back in time to last week where we did that. Right, wasn't that last week? Yeah, so there is actually a video. So if whoever's online, if you look at last week's live stream, we changed the background a bunch. But essentially it's dark gray because we're not hitting with a lot of light.
But before it was black because we were not.
And before it was black because we weren't hitting it with any light, yeah. So that's pretty cool, right? Do we want to, that looks pretty good.
Now we're done.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're actually done. No, we're not done. You know what I want to do though? We got time. Oh no, you want to do something?
No.
I wanted to use the double umbrella thing, but before we do that, why don't we use the Arri light on him?
Okay.
Because I want to rough him up a little bit. So we had a question about constant light. Hopefully whoever was online and asked about the constant light didn't log off, because now we're going to use a constant light. We have an Arri 300, which is a Fresnel light. This might be my one exception, right, when I talk about things, because this is your classic Hollywood light. So it is a hard, small light that I like to use when I'm shooting with women. It just has a certain look to it because it has that kind of basis in the history of Hollywood. So we'll start with it on Velson because he's already standing here, for no other reason. This is a constant light, so we're gonna have to play around a little bit now with our exposure, right? We might even have Seth kill some of these, maybe kill those two Arris. Essentially, we're gonna use our, I think, do we wanna mix the flash with it? We might as well.
We can start without.
Okay, so we'll start with we want to ultimately do it though, right? So we're going to stay at 5.6 is what I'm saying. Then we're going to dial our shutter speed down, right? When you're mixing flash with ambient light, what you can do is lock your aperture in, right? Because your flash is always going to consistently give you the same amount of power, and then change your shutter speed to bring in more or less of the ambient light, right? Because effectively, This isn't 100% true scientifically, but effectively the shutter speed has next to no influence on the flash exposure, right? It will affect it on some level at certain extremes, but for the most part, it doesn't really affect it. So we can leave our flash setup just like it is, and it'll be the same in every shot, right? And then right now we're shooting at 1/200th of a second. If we start going slower, let's say to like a 60th or a 30th or a 15th, we'll start to bring in the light from the constant light source, right? Now, you might say to me, well, you could do that with your ISO too, right? Well, no, I can't, because if I change my ISO, it's going to affect the flash. Because the flash is always putting out the same amount of power. The only part of that exposure triangle that isn't affected, that doesn't affect the flash, is the shutter speed. So that's your tool there.
Constant light guy's still here.
Oh, good. So we're going to use a constant light just for you. I wasn't planning on doing it. Actually, that's not true. What's that?
Brett is his name.
All right, Brett. This one's for you. Hopefully it doesn't suck.
This may blind somebody.
Yeah, this is going to shine right into the audience and blind them. I love to do that. Make sure you guys are awake. So this is going to be, again, hard, punchy light, right? One of the reasons why I like to use a constant light, besides the fact that I like to torture people, because that's like my thing, is think about this. If we're going to shine a bright light in his eyes, your pupils dilate, or the opposite of that. Close down, right? Which then, if you have, like, especially if you have light eyes, which is like terrible because they hate when you shine bright light in their face, but too bad. It's going to make his pupils really tiny. We're going to see lots of that beautiful color in his eye. So it can be really nice. This is one advantage of using a constant light. You won't get that with flash. If you're in a dark room, the flash is going to fire. You're going to boom, big pupils. So sometimes I'll actually use a constant light source just to do that. And I'm me, like I said. I mean, already it's fairly bright in here, so we can see it's already pretty closed down. But if we were in a pretty dark space, you would get, big black saucers. What would you call that? Like hazel? Or do you like to say gray? Gray. Or just green?
Yeah.
Oh. Green. I don't know. Is it green? We need to spice you up a little bit. Let's say gray.
Let's say gray.
Gray. I like gray. Yeah, okay.
Hazel.
Yeah.
Hazel.
All right. We got, you got to play it up a little bit. Yeah. What do you think, right?
I've got hazel eyes.
Yeah, see? Well, hazel changes, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
My eyes are hazel as well. He's just got green.
They're asking for a Fresnel.
It is a Fresnel.
Oh, okay.
Yes. For people who are asking for the Fresnel, this is a Fresnel. Or a Fresnel.
If you're in Jersey.
Bob Fresnel invented that. All right, so again, Dave's using the, using the meter on the camera, or are you just guessing?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's using the camera meter to adjust for the shutter speed, to give us an exposure. I guess we turn the flash off, correct? Yeah, let's kill whatever we can. Sorry, online, it's gonna get dark for a second. Oh, you need me to do it? You said you want me to do it, and then you. Okay.
Go do some stuff.
I'm gonna move this extra chair, random chair. This is your chair. This will be your chair. Extra for you. Okay, let's get all moody in here now. Adorama After Dark.
So noir.
Would it make a difference if you took the barn nose off?
Would it make a difference of what?
If you took the barn nose off and had
Yes. So, would it make a difference? Whoa, there you go. Couple things going on here.
Jeez.
That's a little bit bright. In addition to it being bright, it's also, you might notice, a little bit on the warm side. It's there because, again, we were using flash before. This is a tungsten light. It's the white balance is off. We're going to have to fix for that too. So the question is about the barn doors. The barn doors are helping us shape the light. Would it be different? Yeah, I mean, you'd have light in places that you don't necessarily want. I think Dave's doing that so we get as little light as possible on the background. Yeah, I don't think it's rare that I ever use a light without barn doors, because that's like one of the great things about these lights is to have the barn door, but you certainly could do it. Ah, there we go. All right. That's not terrible. It's still a little bit bright. Smidge. By the way, you notice that this should be a selling point for you here, right there. You see a little nose dimple? Yeah. He's got a nose dimple. Yep.
They're asking about gels instead of
Okay, so while Dave's tweaking out to find the exact spot where he wants to be, He's basically going to use Capture 1 because right now we've got a weird situation where the meter's just not giving him what he wants. So he's going into Capture 1 with a dark exposure. He's going to bring his exposure slider up to where it looks good, and then he's just going to compensate in the camera. Does that make sense? So basically it's like, hey man, I'm going to get a good shot here, and it'll tell me how dark it is, right? That's all. That's what we just did there. It's another way to meter. Question about using gels online. Yeah, you could gel the light, of course. I find that if you're going to gel lights to match, and also we did a video on this, so if you need a little bit more information on it, to check the out Adorama TV, you always want to try to gel the more powerful light. So if we were going to gel, I would still switch to a tungsten white balance here, and then I would gel the flash, because this is way more powerful. I don't want to eat up all my constant light with the... All right, that's not bad. Kind of classy. He's got that. See, by the way, this light automatically makes people do that kind of like Hollywood stare. But this is a very hard light. Like, look at how hard that shadow line is. Like, this is a good version of a hard light, and kind of Rembrandt-y in effect. We can throw the softbox on if we want, assuming that Dave stayed at 5.6 and all the other things are equal. If we just turn it on, it should probably just give us a good hair light. Let's see. Yeah, in theory. It's always a theory until we do it. We do math and stuff, and it usually works, but you know, it's non-linear. Indeed it will be. Questions about this? So as you see, this is this hard, punchy light. Now, this is almost like ideal. I mean, except for that his face is too dark. I might want to fill in with something, blah, blah, another light, which we're going to do now. This is almost ideal guy light to me, like man light, dude light. How should we call that? We need a word for that. Gentleman's light. It's punchy, it's got texture, it shows like some direction and strength, right? Oh, there we go. So, what just happened there? We added the flash, right? And the flash is flash white balance, so it's blue, right? If we wanted it to match color-wise, we would add a gel to the flash. A CTO gel, which means color temperature orange, it would make it tungsten white balance, we'd be done. I kind of like that it's blue, so I'm not changing it. There you go. You're just gonna have to trust me. Yeah, it's got a good feel to it. Now let's see what happens if we throw Ingeborg in. Can you see, or are you completely blind? He's probably looking at like dots and stuff right now. So we've got Ingeborg in here with the same light, the Hollywood light, right? And again, I think that we may have to mess around with its position a little bit, or at least her position, relative to the light source. Again, to get the light to not throw too many shadows across her face. But this hard, punchy light, I actually really like on female subjects. So it's kind of
You're asking the exposure on the flash. So you didn't change anything, right?
no, we did not change the flash, as far as I know. Yeah, because remember the flash is 5.6. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. So, again, we have the blue hair thing. That's what her hair is going to look like when she gets a little bit older. A lot older, right? But right now, right, even though this is a hard, punchy light, there's just something about a Fresnel light that even though it's hard, it just looks nice on the skin, right? Even on female skin where you're showing some texture, it still works. And you also can see, how tiny her eyeballs are. So we can really get that, wow, that screen looks really extra sharp and extra colorful to what it actually looks like. Yeah, okay, wow, okay. We need to get a monitor. Imagine these two pictures together. It kind of looks like that. Online, I guess they see it for real, right? So more or less. But her eyeball is really, really tiny, or pupil, I should say, so you get lots and lots of color, right? We can see that the skin is a little bit blown up because even though the light is hard, right? So it's creating shadows. Like for instance, I'm going over 100% now, I'm sure, but you see all this texture is essentially just shadow, right? That's why you're seeing it. Even though that's the case for this type of light source, I think it works. And so you can definitely pull it off with a constant light, and you can do similar things. Questions about that before we switch back to flash for the last? No, easy. Okay, good. I want to do the two umbrellas.
Can I turn the lights back on?
Yeah, we can turn the lights back on. Cool. So, nobody's seen Spider-Man yet? Am I like I'm never like the first person to see it. That's so weird. You saw it. What'd you think?
I liked it.
You liked it. Okay. That's interesting. I like it. Well, you said it in a way you're like, oh, I liked it.
Because you expect me to hate the world. So.
No, I don't, because you hated Wonder Woman, so I wasn't sure. Seth is very critical towards comic movies because you know a lot about comics, so you have a history of comics.
Spider-Man on my ribs.
Yeah, he has Spider-Man on his ribs.
Well, Venom.
Venom, right? That's not Spider-Man.
Close.
So, I do not have Spider-Man on my ribs. I do like to eat ribs, though, especially baby back ribs, but not spider ribs. I'm pretty sure spiders don't even have ribs.
They're exoskeletons.
Yeah, so they wouldn't have ribs then. No.
There are tarantula burgers.
I don't know about that. Okay, so we're gonna swap out to a couple of umbrellas up front. Any questions? No. Okay, that's easy.
I guess how this had a beauty dish.
The umbrella that we just used like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Well, how would the umbrella that we were using before compare to a beauty dish? It would be much different. A beauty dish is a smaller light source. It's going to be harder. It's going to have less spread. Completely different. Not really close at all. They're both used for beauty, but they definitely have different looks to them. A small silver bouncy umbrella is a lot closer to a beauty dish than a shoot-through umbrella.
Says thank you for going into constant light.
Oh, you're welcome, Brad. I take requests. I try to, anyways. I mean, Dave does like it, but I don't do whatever. I just ask Dave to do it, and he just does it. I just stand here. But yeah, so we're basically bringing in the umbrella. Now, actually, I'll even help. I'll try to anyways, but I'll probably just get in the way. So we're going to use 2 lights, I think, right? And create like 1 large light source. That's what I think I want to do. So I'll do it. You can have that. So one trick that I like to do especially with female, I don't know if I should show you this. This is like my trick. No. So one thing that I like to do, especially with female models, since I like my light to be centered, right? We've kind of shown that is favorable. I often like to put my light directly over camera, but that can be tricky sometimes, especially with a large light source. So one thing you can do is use umbrellas, right? So this is a medium-sized, so like 40-ish inches umbrella, right? If I take this umbrella and I put it on this light, and Dave does the same there, we're essentially creating 1 large light source in front of the subject, right? We can basically by the angle of it, we can control the contrast. If I keep it relatively low and flat, I'm not going to get hardly any shadow under her chin. If I raise it and I tilt it down, I'm going to get more shadow, right? So it's essentially creating 1 large light source. It's ideal to have 2 of the exact same light, but this will probably work. Yeah, more or less. So essentially, we're going to create a single light source-ish with 2 umbrellas, more or less, right? And we're going to more or less match the angle to create, again, and you can play around with this, by the way. I'm doing it like the most basic way, which is to keep them relatively the same. If you like this technique, play around a lot with the heights, like bring one, like Dave's got one a little bit higher than the other, maybe you can move, you can play around with one higher, one lower. It will actually change your look a bit. A little bit. So yeah, this is, again, it's just in this wall of light. It's umbrellas, which are cheap and everybody has, so it's a pretty easy thing to do. And again, depending on the height of the umbrella and how much we tip it, it'll control the amount of contrast. So we can have more contrast if we want to really showcase the jawline. We can have less contrast by keeping it flat. Also, you're somewhat protected by the umbrellas. If the model wants to throw stuff at you or whatever, you're kind of behind it. It's like a shield. Okay. Any questions? Any answers? No. Someday there'll be an answer. I've yet to have the answers.
I'm just saying, I'm curious how this will look with a catch.
It's going to look like well, I guess we'll find out. So essentially, Dave's just going to meter it out. And of course, just keep in mind, we're going to have like almost no control over the background as far as this light hitting it now. So our background's going to get grayish, which might be to your advantage. If you wanted a black background now, you were going to have a lot more space, or an actual black background, because basically this light is going to go past her. We don't have so much space going on here, so it's probably going to go darkish gray, I'm guessing. But you certainly aren't going to have total control of the background. That's going to be one downside to this, if that's what you want. So we're using two different lights. Again, if you were using exactly the same light, you could just set them to the same setting, and theoretically that should give you a balance. Because we're using two different lights, and actually one has a dome on it too, where Dave's going to mess around with a bit to get where he needs to be. Any other questions? Did anybody see the Planet of the Apes movie?
Yeah.
You saw that too?
Yeah.
How do you go to so many movies? All right, I'm leaving you alone. Sorry. No, I don't know, but because they do them late at night up here, down in New York, right? See, the movie theaters where I live, because I live upstate a bit, they're not open late. Like,
It was good.
yeah, it looked good.
All three of them were good. So.
Yeah, the special effects. How was the special effects? Yep. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Planet of the Apes ever since I was a kid. And there was a Planet of the Apes cartoon.
Very picky.
Do you remember that? Anybody remember the Planet of the Apes cartoon? All right, good. All right, I'm not the only person that's it. Yeah. You know. Look it up. It's probably on YouTube somewhere. It's good stuff. Don't screw it up. Yeah, it's always good to give advice to the model. Cool. This is going to give us again, nice even light. If we metered it, we'll see what happens. Did we set the white balance back to flash? So hopefully we'll get the right color, and everything will be wonderful. Or not. I mean, you know. The thing you have to remember is that not everything's going to work every single time the first time you set it up. So, you know, it's one advantage of doing this live stuff. Yeah, that's pretty good. So now we've got. I mean, we got to work a little bit on the. She looks a little bit like she's in a lineup, like she's going to get arrested. Like, what do they call that? Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So for the people with the catch light question, there you go. So you're going to get, you know, you're going to see the lights in their eyes. That's what you're going to get. And depending on how big they are, because you can use bigger umbrellas as well, and where you place them, it'll obviously change the catch light, and also, you know, how high her chin is up. But we can see, right, a couple of things here. Number one, right, texture in the skin is more or less minimized, right, because we got flat, even light. Jawbone. Right, jawline looks really nice. There's basically almost no shadow. It's just enough to give her some shape, right? So it's actually narrowing the face, and it's nice. It's very forgiving light because it's big.
Someone's asking where to put her chin down to the right.
I can put her chin down to the right. Ingeborg can do anything.
I don't care.
Star of film and stage,
Stage, film.
stage,
voiceover,
film.
narration,
Also a voiceover.
TV. Yes, audiobooks.
Audiobooks. Oh, that's fun. By the way, some people should not do audiobooks. I'm just going to put that out there. like I definitely, yeah. I downloaded these like Lovecraft ones, and there's, I think it's out of England. There's this whole thing where like people do it for free. You like submit them. You do them yourself. Like some dude does it in his house, and this guy was just terrible. And I'm like, it was free, but you know, come on, dude. Anyways, so I would definitely listen to Ingeborg read a book to me. So yeah, okay, so again, nice and flat and even, right? We've got decent skin tone. Even with her chin down, it still gives a good line there. It's really, really simple, right? This is good for giving light. And if you're gonna shoot a lot of people that are a lot of different shapes and sizes and that aren't like all incredibly gorgeous like Velson, then you know this is good light because it's forgiving. Yeah, so,
It seems like this light is much brighter than the other one. Is that correct?
as much what?
This light is actually much brighter.
Yeah, one bright is slightly brighter than the other.
I can turn it up a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely seeing a lot more contrast on the TV screen than you are on the actual computer. But yeah, this is not completely even at this moment. It's. I think it's going to be hard to make it exactly even because we're not using the same lights, but we'll get it as close as possible. One of these Pro Photo heads is equipped with the dome, so it's spreading the light slightly different. Just go like that. Yeah, so that, you can balance it out as even as you want. Or again, you can play around with it. Like let's say, for instance, this is your lighting setup. And Ingeborg looks really nice, but let's see Velson, because they really like him better. Online people are like, Velson, come on. He's one of the more popular. We can't, Okay, so we can start with it flat, but then if we want to jazz it up, we can actually start playing with the power of the lights a little bit, right? So that's nice and flat. Again, maybe a little bit boring for a guy, but we can actually come in here. So I went in here, I turned down this light on this side down like 2 stops. Right, let's see what that does. Maybe look a little bit that way. Well, I don't know, or straight still. Let's do straight so we can see what the difference is. Maybe it does nothing, which is always the case. No, see? Now we've added a little more texture, right? A little more shape to his face. Play around with this, right? We're getting a little bit of a shadow in this direction because I turned down this light. It's basically now just a fill light. Right, and if we wanted more drama, I turned this down all the way, but if we wanted more drama, we could turn up the other light a bit and adjust our exposure or whatever. But you can see using this, we can actually adjust our left-right light, and it will actually change the feel of our shot, So it actually gives us a lot of options. Like this one, just in case you thought I was making that up. This was on 5, we'll bring it down to 2. Try that one. Sometimes people think I just make things up. I probably do. What's that? Oh, bringing Ingeborg back. They're only saying that because they're sad. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Now Velson's like, what? Okay, so there we go. We turn that one down, so you can see I can shift the shadow. Right? See, I'm doing that. Come back in. Now you're getting requests. Your fans have now started to come on. They're like doing a hashtag Team Ingeborg. It's like a whole. They've set up websites for it. There's a GoFundMe. Okay, so that's Ingeborg with a little bit of shadow. And again, actually stay exactly there. Let me just bring this back up.
We can rotate them to the sides too.
Yeah, we can also move them around. So let's just try that. Now, of course, this might not be your final light. I'm not suggesting you throw up 2 umbrellas and you just shoot all day like this. I'd probably throw a light in the background or some kind of, yeah, she's like, maybe throw a light in the background. Maybe put a separation light. There's a lot of different things you could add to this. This is just they only gave me 2 lights. So this is just a start, basically. So questions about this before we start to wrap up a little bit here, because we're going to cut our internet off, so we have to be ready for that. Yeah, we got a few minutes, but we'll just... You're making a face like you're thinking of a question or you're so confused that you have no idea what to ask her.
The light on her right now, it's the same lighting as had on him, right? It's very stark on her. Very like. It's not. I don't find it as flattering.
Well, I think that you probably, it looks a little, because the TV screen looks a little bit stark. You could look on the regular computer if you want to come up here and see it. It's not overexposed or stark. It's flat, right? It's flat, which is what we're creating, right? I think that what I would do, again, is I would want to add an extra, actually, you know what we can do? Let's get really crazy. You want to get really crazy? Let's use the area as a hair light. All right, there we go. Who wants to set that up? Come set the light up.
Sure.
All right, so, yeah, there you go. This is Dave 2. Chilling. You were paying attention, right? Yeah, well, you can put it wherever you like. Just do it right or else Dave will get mad. And don't light her hair on fire. We don't have any insurance for that. It's very pretty good. You can just turn it on, just to ask her not to look at it. Say striking. There you go. You probably have to plug it in though. Running commentary here. This is what I do. Yeah, sometimes the floor plug seemed like a good idea, but yeah. We might want to use the barn doors too, no? No, you got nothing. You killed the light. You broke the light, basically, is what you're saying.
I did nothing.
Please. Nada? That's Spanish. You want to fix it?
Oh,
There you go. Well done. Good job, Seth. He just had to give you the confidence that that's it? You think that's in the right spot? Hold on. Don't leave until Dave says it's all right. He's going to get mad. Dave, does that look okay? He's going to come and get you. You better get back out there.
If you want a little bit, if you want a flare, that's
There's going to be a lens flare. Sure, I like a lens flare. Who do they love, Dave?
she looks great. Oh, she's back.
So right now, Dave's just adjusting the lights. He brought them out to the side a little bit to create like a little bit of a feel. We've got our little separation or hair light going on. Plus, it's going to flare the lens, I think, a bit. Now again, because we're incorporating a hot light, we're basically, oh, can you kill these, Seth, please? Hold on, Dave. We're going to adjust our shutter speed in order to bring that hot light in, right? If we don't have the, we get the areas though. There we go. Thank you. We need like a one button, like a big switch on the wall.
There's a blackout button.
Yeah. So at this point, we're basically doing a bit of a shutter speed switcheroo to give us that little bit of glow from the light. Dave's got the lights a little bit to the side. No pressure. Oh, interesting.
pretty heavy glow.
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy glow, all right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm digging that flare.
You know what it is?
Gotta get rid of the lens flare.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
It's not dark enough in the background.
Yeah, the background's not dark enough to give us a legit lens flare, so we gotta do something about that.
I'm gonna also drop it a stop.
Yeah. You can probably move it out to the side a little bit. You can put the barn door on it.
Like this.
Just don't burn your fingers.
Yeah, just slide it that way. We should
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta do the electric slide. No, you're good. That's better, yeah. So, you know, and because she has this like golden hair, this kind of, we're not, you know, and the fact that the light is warm isn't really bad. That's exactly what the sun is like in South Africa. I think that's where you're from, right? That's where you're from?
What about South
Where are you from?
Yeah, South Africa.
Yeah, that's what the sun's like in South Africa. It's golden.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's perfect.
Yeah, shut up.
Though that's the face she makes when she's questioning if I'm saying South Africa right or not. Yeah. So at this point, we've got this kind of like even light across her face. We got the hair light going. Maybe kill one of those lights. Let's kill the light on the same side as the hair light, just to see what the low contrast will do. Let's mess around a bit. Right, we're going to try to take it outside of what will work. So turn off the light on your left, I guess. Yeah.
And then what I'll do
Yeah.
is
Oh, interesting. Okay. He's going to get the light off the background.
a little bit.
Do a little reverse umbrella deal. So at this point, we're going to get the background a little bit darker, create a little bit more mood. So basically, Dave's just using the light meter, and then he's adjusting the light up and down as needed. He's just using the touch button to fire it. Let's see. Let's see what we get here. This should keep most of the light off the background. Obviously, you could meter it, you know, to check it, but you know, we roll kind of hardcore over here, so we don't worry about that. Yeah, there we go. Now we've got this kind of end of the day kind of glow on the back of her head. We have, again, now we're throwing shadow on her face, but it's kind of a wraparound light. You know, it's not terrible. Let's see what it looks like on Velsom.
Can you just reiterate having to close off all the lights so that they don't interfere?
Yeah, we did definitely turn the lights off in the space to make sure that that none of the ambient light is affecting the shot, except for the Arri 300. That's how we're getting the dark background. And of course, the flash is not hitting the background because Dave's got the umbrella turned away from it. Yeah, and there you go. So these guys are like looking across at, you know, and they're in South Africa, and they're looking at each other from across the room, and you know, there you go, gazing at each other. Although they're actually both facing the same way, so they're probably like looking this way and like they don't care about each other. The sunset is so nice. So yeah, I mean, we can definitely see, and while this definitely works, and like again, going against what I said earlier, right? Having this kind of hardish light on her face kind of works here, right? It's got a certain feel to it, and if incorporated a certain way, you definitely can use the same light, and it can look, you know, good on both people. I think I would say though that this light definitely favors Velsom. Like I think it's definitely, even though it's a softer light, it tends to have a little bit more of a masculine feel to it because of the shadow. But certainly we could bring a reflector in. There's a lot of things we could do to help kind of flatten it out on her face. Maybe we'll do one more with the Ingeborg reflector. I just like to say Ingeborg. It's a fun name, right? It's also surprising that I know everybody's name today. It's because if we use models a bunch of times, I remember their names.
Very
Or if they're,
pronounce it correctly.
yes. Well, I worked with an amazing makeup artist named Ingeborg, so if anybody needs a makeup artist. So at this point, I'm just trying to bounce a little bit of light back in with this reflector. This is a Seth reflector. Specially made in Brooklyn. Doubt it. Yeah. All right. So we softened it out even more, flattened it out, right? Because essentially, and this can come down to taste, obviously, but the reflector is making it a little bit flatter. The flatter light on the face is going to have less texture. Less texture is generally going to be, you know, what we want when photographing a female subject, right? So we see the difference there. There is a difference, right? I'm not making it up. All right. I mean, I am making it up, but at the same time, it's still true. So, good. I think we're gonna have to wrap because I'm gonna cut off our internet. Yeah. So, well, that's what Seth told me. He wrote me a note like I was in 5th grade. He was like, "Do you like whatever, Monica?"
I said circle yes. And you
Circle
would
yes if you want the internet to be turned off or whatever it was. Yeah. So, I'm surprised you didn't make one of those little things that you open it. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yeah.
You're showing clearly the whole thing is going to.
Yeah. Anything you do will distract me because I'm easily distracted, obviously. So thanks for coming, guys. So yeah, I hope that kind of gave a little bit of an idea of why I say certain things sometimes about the lighting of men and women. Next week we're doing character portraits. So if you're around next week, come by at 12 and 3. We're going to have a character, I guess, and we're going to make some portraits. That's character portraits. That'll be kind of fun. And there is another open shoot coming up. I think it's in 2 weeks. So keep a lookout for that if you guys have not been to an open shoot. It's basically you guys come, you bring your cameras, lens, memory card, bring me a sandwich if you want. And basically we set up some lights and you guys can actually get a chance to shoot, which is kind of nice. Use some of this stuff that you're watching. If you can't come in, we stream every Thursday at 12. When's your next thing? Let me give Seth a plug. Seth has got one coming up. Oh, we have a critique. That's right. If you're local, this is for local people only, and you want to have some of your work critiqued, you can send it into
AdoramaCritique@gmail.com, up to 5 megabytes in size, 3 images a piece.
Okay.
Your name, one,
Does
your
it say that on the thing?
What's up? Yeah, go to Adorama.com.
If you go to adorama.com/events, it's going to be August 22nd. Look in that event. It will tell you what you need to do. Send in pictures with all the things that he just said technical. We're going to sit down. Last time we probably looked at like 20 pictures or something. and we'll give you some feedback, as to what we think you could use to improve or whatever. Okay, my voice lasted. I'm glad that was like right at the very end there. I muted it, right? Okay, there we go. I didn't cough through the speaker, right? I muted it. You just tell me I didn't so I don't feel bad about it. Okay, so, anyways, thanks for coming, guys. Again, I'll see you next week. And Ingeborg.